Moving to the cloud can be enticing. And we know that it also can be very hard. Change is hard. These three trends have encouraged creatives to want to move workloads to the clouds. The trouble is that creatives typically are not IT administrators or software developers. So we know this. We hear this from customers. And we are working harder to make it better and easier to move production into the cloud. As a result, you see us at AWS making investments in technology. And I can think of the perfect person for us to have this conversation with about how do we make it easier to set up production pipelines in the cloud. And that is Rex Grignon from Amazon Nimble Studio. Rex! Hey!
Hey, fancy meeting
Great
you
to
here.
see you.
Nice to
Great
see
to see you.
Nice to see you.
Hey, thanks for joining us today.
Yeah.
Hey, a question for you. First of all, I'm curious. What is Nimble Studio?
Get asked that a lot. Well, Nimble Studio is a service at AWS that helps animation and visual effects and other creative studios move, some of their work to the cloud so that they can connect with artists all around the world.
Well, that sounds like a very ambitious project. So where did you come up with a big idea like that? That seems like quite the dream.
Funny you should ask. It was in a park very much like this in Mountain View. Yeah.
Well, I like that. Well, do you want to have a seat?
Yeah, sure.
So Rex, tell me a little bit more. When you sat on this bench and you were looking forward, what were you talking about? What is it that you wanted to do? Who is it that you wanted to help?
Well, I think we saw this opportunity where we saw every studio and every university that wanted to teach animation or studio that wanted to create animation, first thing they had to do was build a pipeline. So we thought, if we could build a pipeline once the right way and put it in the cloud, then in theory anybody could use that. So that was kind of the founding sort of vision. Could we put a infrastructure and pipeline in the cloud so artists could live wherever they want to live and work on cool projects, if they're living out in Minnesota or Bulgaria or wherever. So.
Oh, I like that. So it sounds like sometimes artists have to get moved from location to location.
Yeah.
It's got to be hard on families, I would think.
Yeah, that was one of the big things is we saw studios when they finish a production, downsize their crew. And so we saw artists and have to move their families around to follow the work around, move to England or Australia or whatever. So we thought, this could actually help solve that for both sides of that equation, for studios and for artists. So it's like, this seems like a good idea.
That seems like a big idea. So instead of taking the artist to the work,
right,
why don't we take production to the artist?
Yeah, and let artists connect from, all around the world.
I love that. Okay, so you sat on this bench.
Yeah.
And that was not the first moment you had thought about this. You've been thinking about this for a little while. So what was the backstory? What got you to this bench?
Yeah, so I had worked in the industry, and I'd sort of seen that I could access my big powerful computer up in my office from one of the training rooms, and it was kind of like this light bulb moment for me. It's like I don't need a computer right under my desk to be able to to work on a powerful computer. So that was the first thing. And then we started learning about some of the things that, some of the cloud companies were doing, and about, these pieces started falling that would make this possible, this vision possible.
I got it. So you're thinking hey, if I could do this, across the building, then maybe I could do it across the campus, and maybe I could do it across.
And if you can run one application, which is great, maybe you could run two, and maybe you could pass the data between them. So all of a sudden, the pieces started coming together. Yeah.
Oh, I like that. So that brought you to this bench.
Yeah.
What happened next?
Well, we talked about, what would be involved in this, because if you're going to start a business, it has to be a business. So we started thinking about how would we structure this business? What would the customer really want out of a service like this? And so we, put our heads together on the business front, on the technology front, and on the creativity front. And, we wanted to come up with a real driving vision that would allow all of us to leave our day jobs and really commit to this. And we finally got to that point where we all linked arms and jumped in. So.
You did it. Yeah, so great. So and then at some point, Amazon and Nimble.
Yeah, so we ran Nimble Studio as a startup for a few years and really worked on building this pipeline. And we did some short films with some filmmakers. And we met up with some folks at AWS, and in 2019 we were acquired into AWS. And so the team came over, and we're, it's just wonderful being, part of such an incredible company with this, worldwide reach and huge aspirations to help customers and artists. So, yeah, it's wonderful.
I love that. Tell me just a second about making films. So you made actually some films with some of the tools that you were making. Was that an important part of the process?
Yeah, it really was. We did what we called a pilot program. As a startup, we made 5 short films with 5 first-time directors and about 120 artists scattered all over North America. And we really wanted to learn what the challenges were with doing remote collaboration like that. So we learned a ton, of course, and we put that right into the product. And I think really the goal there was, how can we make this process, have less friction? How can we make this more creative? That was mostly the driving sort of voice was, how can we make this more creative? How can we let the technology, this incredible technology, be there, but not necessarily be in the artist's face all the time? So.
Ooh, I like that concept. So that sounds like that must be top of mind for you today. Is that one of the things? How do we make the technology kind of evaporate for the artist so that the artist can focus on, creating wonderfully entertaining content?
That's exactly it. But, at the same time, studios want to be able to customize and want to be able to get in. So we need to allow access to under the hood.
There's a little more to it in the studio setting.
But what you don't want, you want artists to be able to get together and start a studio ultimately without having to first be a technology company. That's really the goal.
No, I love it. So pretty soon you'll have to do that in the park. We get a couple.
Exactly,
We'll have to get that on film, I think.
Exactly.
So that's great. So this idea about being more simple. What are some of the biggest challenges? How hard are you working at that right now?
Well, very hard. I mean, I think we really try to understand what the customer needs and wants first, and then we work backwards from that. So we say, what does a customer really want from something like this? What are they afraid of? What are they excited about? And we try to put that into the design of the product. Yeah.
Oh man, I love that. So I know with a lot of projects I've worked on, and I think you've worked on, that you do a lot of work internally, and I think there's a lot of services that it takes to actually make Nimble work.
Yeah. I mean, I think at first we didn't understand. We were initially born on AWS, and Nimble Studio, I think, integrates about 50 different AWS services under the hood. And the idea is we don't want a customer or studio have to deal with all of those separately. It can get quite complicated. So we want to put those together in a way that makes a lot of sense and allows them to get up and running quicker. So
I love that. So that's the internal.
Yeah.
How about external? Like where do you feel like that you're working as a group to help that interoperability at the industry level?
Yeah, well, a big part of it is just helping people feel safe moving to the cloud, that this is a real thing, that it's secure, and that there's a real benefit for the company. So it's going to take a lot of different components working together to get this. We're one part of that, but everybody needs to feel this vision. So yeah.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more.